Republicans claimed the biggest prizes on election night, but Texas Democrats are celebrating successes farther down the ballot, bringing a lot of new names and ideas to the Capitol.
We can't take issues and make fights of them just to play politics and try to scare our bases. That's not good for Texas, that's not good for Texans, it's not good for the country.
How some surprising wins are affecting the landscape at the legislature and changing the tactics for Texas Republicans looking to 2020. The Texas Department of Public Safety, established to protect and serve, but workers have made hundreds of allegations of harassment and discrimination in recent years. Now we investigate what's being done to address those concerns. Hello, and thank you for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. Republicans carried election night in Texas. The party won the marquee Senate race, and GOP candidates took every single statewide elected office. And the red team kept control of both chambers of the Texas legislature, but the blue team also scored some big wins. Record turnout at the polls pushed Democrats to win state house seats in districts that usually go to Republicans. One surprise happened in Williamson County, where GOP incumbent Tony Dale fell to Democrat John Busey III.
Williamson County was thought of as one of the reddest strongholds in the state. But we knew just by being here, being amongst the people, looking at the data, that this was an area that was ready for a new type of leadership.
Democrats flipped a second House seat in Williamson County when James Tallarico won the District 52 seat vacated by Republican Larry Gonzalez. Those wins will affect the balance of power at the Capitol. Going into Election Day, Republicans held 95 seats in the Texas House, a 40-seat advantage. But Democrats cut that margin down to just 16 seats. Many of the gains came in suburban areas of the state. Those wins could give Democrats more influence over who becomes the next House Speaker. That's important because the Speaker chooses committee assignments, essentially deciding which issues will be considered by lawmakers.
We're looking for individuals who are going to be focusing on things that are important to Texas, not allowing the extreme agendas to creep into our chamber.
House members will choose a speaker after the legislature convenes in January. One candidate who turned a red district blue is Aaron Zwiener. You won District 45 in Hays County. How did that go for you?
It went wonderfully. The theory I've had of this district the entire time, that our growing suburbs of Buda and Kyle would show up in force, that a lot of our residents in the Dripping Springs area would flip, and that the students would show up in force, all came true. That's what we had happen.
Well, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You know, many people considered you an underdog for this district, but now that you've won, what are your priorities for the session going to be?
Like every other Democrat in Texas, I think it's essential that we work on public education finance reform. The system right now really underfunds so many of our schools, puts many of our districts in a hard position to do the job we're asking them to do. And on top of that, it drives the cost of living up for Texans all over the district. Property taxes are almost unaffordable. So we have to address that to make sure that our kids get a great education and that our residents can afford to stay in their homes.
You know, District 45 has been red for nearly a decade. How did you reverse that trend?
I showed up, and I kept showing up. I started block walking regularly over a year ago, and I kept it up through the election, through election night. I was knocking on doors until 6:30 p.m. on election night, and that matters. So many Texans are used to feeling like their vote doesn't count, only focusing on statewide races. Having a local candidate look them in the eye and tell them they need their vote and what we can do for them at the Texas legislature makes all the difference in the world.
This has been a very divisive time in politics. How do you plan to bring people together to agree on something?
I think we have to focus on core values. You know, my core values are healthy communities, inclusivity, and common sense government. And I believe the vast majority of Texans share those with me. And if we can move beyond our agendas and talk about our values, I think there's common ground to find. But we can't take issues and make fights of them just to play politics and try to scare our bases. That's not good for Texas, that's not good for Texans, it's not good for the country. We have to focus on real issues and move forward.
Now, you were one of the women who was on the cover of Time magazine for their article about women running for office. You know, the article told a little bit about the story that you decided to run. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
And that was a bit of a whirlwind in and of itself. I got the call for a reporter to come down. It was actually very early in my pregnancy. I had a baby in June, and I was incredibly sick, and I'd been planning to take the whole week off and just try to get better. And then I got the call from Time Magazine, hey, we'd like to send a reporter down. Do you have events? And I frantically uncanceled all my events for that week, and we went forward. It was wonderful to be part of such a huge number of women that are stepping up to run. You know, my pretty much entire life, there's been about 20% representation of women in all levels of office, and I'm excited to see that changing, and I hope that's going to be a permanent shift.
You mentioned that you're a new mother. You have brought your newborn out on the campaign trail a little bit. How important is it to have moms in the legislature?
I think it's important to have moms because if you want young women in office, you're going to get moms. And traditionally, women have waited until they're past childbearing age to run for office. I believe Ann Richards didn't run for anything until she was in her late 40s. And that means that we have fewer and fewer women who are prepared for high office. The other thing I'll say about being a new parent is it has a way of making all of the issues feel much more urgent. Suddenly, public education is personal. Suddenly, healthcare is personal. Suddenly, making sure that we've got the same beautiful hill country that I grew up exploring, that we keep it that way, that's more urgent and personal.
So before the campaign, before you decided to run for office, some people might recognize you from TV otherwise. You were on Jeopardy before.
Yes, I was. I was on Jeopardy back in 2012. It was the culmination of a lifelong dream. And lately it seems like I'm very blessed with my dreams.
How'd you do?
I won 3 times. And you know, I didn't talk about this too much on the campaign trail, but the only reason I could afford to put my life on hold and run is because I had won Jeopardy and had those savings.
There you go. Just keeping the winning streak going. Everything seems like it's working out for you.
Well, I hope so.
Well, congratulations again. Good luck when the session starts.
Thank you.
Texas Republicans won the key statewide races, but not in the way they're used to winning.
We can no longer cede the delivery of the message to mainstream media or to our opposition, and so we're going to have to drive that.
Why last week's results could change the Republican approach to the next election.
I work with anyone, anytime, anywhere to make sure in the same way that you've been there for us that now we can be there for you.
Beto O'Rourke lost his bid for Senate, but is he done campaigning? Why he could still be a force in Texas and national politics.
I'm as inspired, I'm as hopeful as I have ever been in my life. And tonight's loss does nothing to diminish the way that I feel about Texas or this country.
Beto O'Rourke didn't sound like someone giving a farewell speech after losing a Senate race. He did better in deep-red Texas than many observers expected, losing by less than 3 points. The question for a lot of people is, what does Beto do next? O'Rourke built one of the most valuable campaign email databases in the country, which has the ability to raise $75 million. Plus, he has hundreds of loyal followers who are ready to follow him.
Certainly, we have a lot more work to do, and I don't know what Beto's future is going to be. I mean, he could decide to run for higher office or run for another office. I know we have another Senate election in a couple years, another presidential election in a couple years, but I will support him all the way.
In his campaign night speech, O'Rourke urged his supporters to keep working for the future of Texas. Democrats flipped 2 seats in the Texas Senate on Tuesday. Nathan Johnson won over Dallas Republican Don Huffines, and in Tarrant County, Beverly Powell beat incumbent Connie Burton. But Republicans still hold 19 seats in the Senate, which means the party keeps its 3/5 supermajority. That's a big deal because it lets Republicans advance bills to the floor without needing support from a single Democrat. Also, you'll notice we put this gray dot right here on the screen. That represents a state Senate seat that's still not decided. Democrat Sylvia Garcia held the seat, but on Tuesday, she won her Houston area race for Congress. So Garcia will head to Washington in January, setting the stage for a special election to fill her seat in the Texas Senate. On Friday, Governor Abbott ordered that election to happen on December 11th, meaning the seat will be filled when the legislature convenes in January. But election results show a trend in Texas that now favors Democrats.
It definitely is a warning signal to us that we have got a lot of work to do for 2020.
Now GOP leaders look toward new tactics. The head of the state party tells us what they're changing for the next election. Their mission to protect and serve, but some Texas Department of Public Safety workers say they faced harassment and discrimination on the job. Now we investigate what's being done to address those concerns.
I'm going to go to work every single day working for everybody in this great state.
Governor Greg Abbott celebrated his re-election win on Tuesday. He led a Republican sweep of every statewide office in Texas, continuing a streak that started 20 years ago. But this year, GOP candidates won by smaller margins than usual, and Democrats made big gains in the Texas House. What does that mean for state Republicans moving forward? Joining us is James Dickey, the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So Texas Democrats, they did a little better in suburban areas that are reliably red. What do you think happened there?
Well, no question, as we look at the statewide results, that's the thing that points out and concerns us, that in urban areas and suburban areas, we have got to do a better job of getting our message out.
Demographics show that a lot of young people and diverse population of Texas, they showed up, and many of them favored Democrats this election cycle. How does your party reach those folks next time?
Well, I think it points out that we need to up our game in terms of recruiting younger voters and registering younger voters. There was a lot of news about the efforts on those fronts that were done by the Beto campaign. And with the kind of money they had available, they were able to do significant efforts on those fronts. We are talking right now to donors to fund those same kind of efforts on our side for the next 2 years.
Was it just money on his campaign's part, or was there something else that really made him resonate to voters and get more people out to the polls?
Well, actually, we've been looking at that and talking about that. It was kind of a trifecta, and interestingly enough, it's the same kind of things that drove Senator Cruz to a 16-point margin 6 years ago. It was the young upstart candidate with really no background baggage already identified, some good support and some good fundraising, and frankly, in Beto's case, a free pass from the media for months.
You know, Speaker Joe Straus has described O'Rourke's message as something that is brighter and more optimistic than what his opponents have been offering. Now, Straus is a Republican leader. He says the party needs to broaden its message, and this is his quote: "Get beyond sanctuary cities, vouchers, and bathrooms." Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, it has frustrated me very much as a leader of the party that I frequently get asked in interviews about things that are not at all our priorities. I mean, our priorities are lowering property taxes and saving lives and improving the economy and doing jobs. Those are our priorities. But I get called all the time to do media interviews on things like what former Speaker Straus has just listed. Well, you know, it doesn't do any good for us to let the opposition define what the priorities are, and we're not going to do that moving forward.
Well, what happens next? We got big elections coming up in 2020. What are the changes that Texas Republicans need to make to get more traction in Texas?
Well, at the party, we are working to set up the infrastructure to do dramatic changes, to register significant number of additional voters, to make sure that we are directing our message, that we're driving the message. It is proven to us in urban and suburban areas in particular that we can no longer cede the delivery of the message to mainstream media or to our opposition. And so we're going to have to drive that. That's going to take a significantly different operation, and we are prepared for that challenge and excited about doing so.
Chairman Dickey, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
It's an agency meant to protect and serve Texans, but workers inside the Department of Public Safety are reaching out to us after we discover hundreds of allegations of discrimination and harassment.
Cases going on. In fact, the more I complained, the more I felt retaliated against.
Wow, I had no idea that this was actually going on, and this happened to other people.
Hundreds of allegations of harassment and discrimination poured into the Texas Department of Transportation in recent years, all brought to the forefront in our 6-month investigation. After our report, the agency's making changes, but the reports also prompted workers from other state government agencies to come forward to us, saying they've been victims in their workplaces too and want to see change. Now we're looking into the agency that's supposed to protect and serve Texans, the Department of Public Safety. We've discovered workers there have made nearly 500 official allegations of harassment, discrimination, and retaliation since 2013, but just 10% of those allegations were sustained, and employees were disciplined. Now investigator Brittany Glass tells us lawmakers and workforce experts question why so few allegations are resulting in action from DPS.
Yes, and they say it might start with the makeup of the agency's workforce. There are nearly 10,000 people working at DPS, but just 40% are women. Minorities make up even fewer numbers, like just 13% are African American. Some of those workers have contacted us because they're too afraid to speak out, even as agency leaders encourage them to do so. It's a high-intensity work environment, in the air and on foot, a team you'd be proud to join. But this Department of Public Safety recruitment video was far from what this whistleblower says she experienced.
Working in a state agency as large as this was a fantastic opportunity that wound up being one of the most soul-crushing experiences that you could have.
She asked that we conceal her identity for fear of retaliation, but says she witnessed discrimination based on race and gender, seeing women and minorities passed up for promotion and skipped over for raises despite their experience or merit. Our analysis of state employment data shows the top 5 highest paid workers at the agency are all white men, and men hold twice the number of director positions at DPS compared to women.
The directors are in the position to surround themselves with who they want.
In the past 5 years, most allegations of discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment, and retaliation involved non-commissioned workers at DPS. These are the behind-the-scenes administrative and civilian employees like the woman in this story. To better understand their concerns, we asked DPS for specific details about last year's allegations. We learned by law, any allegation made against troopers is only shared with the public if that trooper was disciplined. Last year, that number was 0, so we can't know what happened in those cases, which made up about half the allegations. But the records we did receive from the non-commissioned side of the agency included claims of unprofessional conduct to a wide range of discrimination and even retaliation. And overall, the number of allegations agency-wide have nearly doubled from 46 in 2016 to 85 last year. To investigate those, DPS relies on an inspector general and a dispute resolution office. Still, only about 10% of the allegations in the 5 years we analyzed were substantiated, meaning in the majority of cases, nothing was proven and no one was disciplined.
But if people think that that's the likely outcome from reporting, you can understand why people would certainly think twice before reporting or just find another way to do it.
Employment attorney Austin Kaplan specializes in workplace disputes. With so few substantiated allegations, Kaplan says the data suggests fear of retaliation may be a serious issue at DPS.
The affirmative duty ought to be on DPS or on the employer to create an environment where that fear goes away.
So we've actually had a number of employees, DPS employees, current and former, who've come to us who've said that this has happened to them, but they're not reporting it because they don't feel like DPS takes this seriously.
Bring the evidence to the Office Inspector General. They don't report to me. They report directly to the Public Safety Commission.
DPS Director Stephen McCraw says the agency has processes in place, but employee reporting is crucial.
If you know of it, if you've seen it, you have an obligation to report it, whether it's against you or somebody else. If there's some people that you've talked to that feel that way, again, the only way to eliminate that feeling is for them to come forward.
This whistleblower says there's too much at risk. She never felt comfortable filing a formal complaint, so she quit.
They're not doing anything to create an environment where they're going to want to stay.
But she's determined now to bring the issue to light.
We all have to be a force against something that we all know is wrong.
At least one lawmaker we've spoken with says she's looking into this issue. She's talked to DPS and she says leaders there have committed to meeting with her in person.
Brittany, I'm curious, why did DPS give you all the allegations made against the civilian non-commissioned workers, but would only give you allegations made against troopers if they were sustained?
Well, that's actually one of the biggest concerns for lawmakers. Unless those allegations made against troopers are proven and they're disciplined, it's just not public information. Basically, you have to trust the agency gives you all of its data and that what it says about troopers' actions is accurate. But after our investigation, lawmakers are looking into that aspect as well and say it too should be addressed.
All right, thanks, Brittany. DPS is currently under review by the Sunset Advisory Commission for the upcoming legislative session. The initial commission report suggests DPS close inefficient or low-performing driver's license offices. It suggests turning over the driver's license sector to the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles. That could ease the burden on DPS. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. And on this Veterans Day, we thank all of you who have served our country. I'm Josh Hinkle. We'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.